And welcome back to Hannity. So amid the chaos surrounding the grand jury decisions in both New York City and Ferguson, Missouri, former Justice Department official J. Christian Adams, he's calling out the critics and the protesters and sounding the alarm about what's really going on. Take a listen.
We've entered an era when truth doesn't matter. There's something bigger going on here. These are attempts to delegitimize the system of justice in this country, in America, by invoking this history that is way in the rearview mirror. These are folks who want to always blame law and order, the police. They're always on the side of the lawless. It's a bigger battle than just what happened in Ferguson. It's an effort to delegitimize the American system of justice.
Here with Reaction Radio talk show host Larry Elder and the executive director of the TeaParty.net, Niger Innis. Guys, welcome back. Truth doesn't matter. Delegitimize the system of justice, Larry. Blame the police and side with the people that are the troublemakers. What is your reaction to J. Christian Adams?
I think Mr. Adams is onto something, Sean. In 2012, I think the last year we have stats, according to the CDC, 140 black people were killed by cops. 386 whites were killed by cops. So are cops killing white people? Are white people under siege? It's ridiculous. And in any given year, almost half of the homicides in this country, Sean, come from black people. Last year, almost 7,000, mostly black people killed by other black people. Why aren't we talking about that? It is rare when an unarmed person is killed by a cop, irrespective of race, especially when a black guy is killed. We're ready to march on Washington when it happens. It's outrageous. We ought to talk about real problems facing the black community, and it has to do with babies having babies, a lot of kids being born outside of wedlock. There's a direct relationship between that and crime, according to President Obama. We should be talking about high school dropouts. We should be talking about poverty rates. Those are much more important problems facing the black community than the rare instance when an unarmed black person is killed by a cop, Sean.
No, you know, pick one city, Niger, and for example, Chicago, and how much black-on-black crime there's been there. There has been murder after murder after murder. Nobody knows the names of the victims there. Nobody knows these innocent lives that were taken. You know, human potential wasted. And you don't hear from the agitators or the activists in this case. And it's been going on now for years. Why?
And you know, the amazing thing is that, you know, words like genocide, black genocide are used often by these folk.
Right.
And I actually agree. There is a black genocide going on, like in Chicago, which is a killing field. It's actually more dangerous for a young black man to walk the streets of Chicago than it is Kabul, you know, in Afghanistan or Iraq. And, you know, that is an absolute tragedy. But the black genocide is not being perpetuated by white cops or Nazis or skinheads. It is tragically being perpetuated by other young black men. And if your goal is to stop this crisis, and it is a crisis among young black men, I mean, 40% of young black men are murdered. Well, that's the #1 cause of life is murder.
That is just unacceptable, and it's something that as a society that values life, human life, we can't let it go on any further. What about, in both instances, hands up, don't shoot? Even as we were discussing, the halls of Congress. They have bought into a narrative, Larry, that we now know based on black eyewitnesses is false. Why does it keep getting repeated?
That's right. Because it advances their agenda. The Democratic Party, Sean, cannot survive at the presidential level without getting that 95% monolithic black vote. How do you get that? You get that by calling black people victims and by saying those guys over there, Republicans, Tea Party people, black Republicans, they're victimizers. And by the way, we're the savior. So it advances their agenda.
Yeah. Let me just add just that, you know, we should also put a word in that cops are somewhat victimized in this phenomenon as well, in that cops are often being used in cities, like in the case of Staten Island, where they're trying to police a silly law of selling loose cigarettes, or even in Ferguson, Missouri. You know, Alveda King and I went there as part of a campaign, Restore the Dream 2015, and we went there, we met with the mayor and the police chief and local officials, and they told us that there's a situation there where, you know, there are these nuisance crimes, like having a sticker on your license plate and making sure you put it in the right place, and if you don't, then you get a fine. And if you don't pay that fine, you get another fine. And before you know it, there's a warrant for your arrest. And before you know it, you're in the criminal justice system. So we have to stop making policemen tax collectors for the city government.
All right, guys, thank you both, Larry and Niger. Go ahead, Larry. Last word.
I was going to say that said, there's a reason they do that is because the philosophy of the New York Police Department is to go after these quality of life crimes. It's called broken windows. If you want to change that, you need to go to the mayor.
Yeah, good point. I mean, it's idiocy to go after somebody, an untaxed cigarette. It's mind-blowing. All right, guys, good to see you both.
And the idea, Sean, that if you're a white cop, you can't police a black area, that's ridiculous. That's racist. That's racial profiling.
And coming up next tonight, right here on Hannity.
How many people have to die before people understand this is not an illusion?
NBC News host Al Sharpton, he's back at it. Coming up next, the one and only Ann Coulter. She's here to respond to Sharpton's comments. And later tonight, Mayor Rudy Giuliani takes on Comrade Bill de Blasio, the mayor of New York. Wait until you hear how Giuliani schools the current mayor of New York City. That and more as we continue.